Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to today's video. Let's touch on kind of what happened in crypto and really quick in the SP 500, and then we'll leave it as that. I'm going to make a short video today, but this video here I made about 4 days ago when Bitcoin was about to break out, and we were looking at some of these upside targets at about 161.8. Those targets have been hit, and we are now pulling back a little bit in Bitcoin, but the wave count continues to look, pretty good. So if you want to know kind of how I thought about this and kind of what went into my counting process, on this one, just kind of watch that video again. But that's kind of where we are, and that's what we've talked about. So now let me go back to the current stage where we are in here in Bitcoin, and you can see it almost hit it perfectly on the right there. On those levels. So something interesting it's happening though, because I don't think that's the top of this wave three. I think there's a bit more to go based on the structure. So now we have a fib that's been hit at 161.8, but the structure in here does not look like it's complete. Like if you count this as a 1-2-1-2, I think there's got to be a fourth wave forming in here, or maybe a little bit higher, and then part of this intermediate wave of the smaller wave three minuet. So I'll decompose it. I'm not decompose it. I'm just going to kind of label it. So you go basically in here and you go 1, 2. I don't know if this is going to be a wave three or not, but let's do this. So this is kind of what I'm thinking, right? That we're probably, and even if this pullback, it's maybe indicative that a fourth wave is on the way. We'll see if that's the case or not. I'm not, I'm not here to tell you, oh, this is the top and sell or go short for a fourth wave. No, none of that, right? One of the problems with Elliott wave it is, and especially, for a lot of newer Elliotticians and even a bunch of the older ones, we have a tendency to kind of look at the top and say, oh my God, this is the top, or the top is coming, and the top can be so far away from what we're thinking or from what we're labeling that we're not even close. So, and then you just kind of look like a fool saying, yeah, it's a top. I mean, look at, I don't want to say, but, Elliott Wave International, for example, tried to put a top on the stock market like for years now, and they kept saying, oh, if it's a B wave, if it's a wave 5, and if it's this, it's not. Like, in bull trends, it's really hard to do that, and I don't advise anybody to go and try to to label top of waves. No, it's better to label corrections, and try to get on the impulse and try to figure out the top of the impulse. But that's another story. I digress. But the idea is that if this is a wave 3 top, let's say, right, then we should have a 4 and another 5. If there is a little bit more, we're still going to get a 4 and a 5 based on the way the structure looks. Now, let me measure this wave 3. I'll measure this wave 3 to see what it is. So look how cool this is. So basically, this wave right here starts right there at about 107.513 and goes to 123, right? That's 261.8 multiple of wave 1, and we pull back. Why? It's a cluster of 261.8, 161.8. So fibs work, and they're nice. Again, it's sometimes in hindsight things are easier, right? I'm not going to say like, okay, well, that's exactly the target and sell over there, or what have you. But look, it continues to show that it's pretty, at least that, right? So if we're doing that, then let's assume for a second that there's the top of a wave 3, then we're looking for a wave 4. Now, usually in a wave 4, I look for the 38.2, from the from the Elliott wave rule, I mean guidelines and rules and what have you. So we're gonna look for wave 4. Let me do this. I'm gonna go out for 4v3. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this a bit lower. 4v3. So you see here it's 116, 116,966. So around 117, it would be where a standard. Again, I'm not saying it's going there. I'm not saying it has to go there. That would be a standard pullback for a fourth wave after a pretty decent impulse. So we'll see what happens if it's going to get hit or not. If it does, then we'd expect some kind of a support over there. And then from there we should go in a wave 5, and that wave 5 again, it's an ongoing travel of this wave. Let me pull this out of the way, of this wave 3, which if it works, would have some kind of a maybe quality or multiple of wave 1. We can talk about it when it happens, but that's the idea, that somewhere up here, maybe around 127, maybe around 130, we'll see, you can have a top of a wave 5, part of this wave 3, and then again another 4 and another 5. So it's all it's all up to the market, and nobody can read the future. But what I do like, I like that it hit the 261.8, 161.8. I will see what happens from here. So I think the easy part of this move, the easier part after this breakout, has been made. That's important to know. From here on out, things can get a little bit trickier. They don't have to. It can continue to shoot higher and gain a lot of strength and go to 150. Okay, I don't know that. You don't know that. Nobody does. But based on normal situations, this is done already, kind of its move, and it's time for a little bit of a pause here. Let's say in a fourth wave. But again, that's something that's just numbers and letters on the screen, and we'll see where it goes from here. However, I continue to remain extremely optimistic that this wave 3 yellow, it's still in progress, and it should take some more time to complete. So that's my view on Bitcoin, and we can take a look also at the daily time frames in here, where you can see a pretty heavy week from 123, kind of pulling back, and it's not necessarily a bearish signal, it's not necessarily a rejection. This can follow along with another white candle that tomorrow overtakes that. So we'll see what happens, but we're a bit extended from the 20-day moving average. So a little bit of a pause here, waiting for the market to catch up. It's not out of the ordinary. Okay, so we're looking at that. I also made a video on the XRP. XRP continues to act pretty well. This is the daily chart. It looks good. There's no black candles in here, right? It's just continuing to go. I think it's probably going to target those areas. Take a look at the video. I made it in detail. I'm not going to go again over the over the wave counts in XRP. I'm just looking at the 3-month chart, the 1-month chart, and I have the targets up there towards 5, maybe even 7. But check that video out. I think I made that on Saturday. So that continues to look let's say healthy. Let me take a quick look here. XRP on the daily, see if anything changed. I haven't looked at this. So we're still basically, we looked for the 61.8, so we're looking for some of these upside targets. I said cluster around this area right there, 138, 261.8, 161.8. So there's more room to go. And if we were to, let me just kind of get rid of that. Okay, if you kind of try to dissect the subdivisions in here, maybe a 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5 4 5. I think there's just a bit more juice into XRP, based on some kind of how this looks. Now some of these swings highs are important, and that's why the market remembers that, and it's gonna find trouble around 3, then then a little bit higher up here at these highs. So anyway, I think the longer picture, it's still that it's going to try to swing back to the upside a little bit more there. So that's on the XRP. Now, really quickly, I'm just going to touch on the SP 500 here, and I will show you a couple of things. I'm going to go on the distribution here, and this looks pretty decent. It's just the price action is very tight. Not a lot going on. It is, somewhat encouraging, so I'm not ready to say we're getting a sell-off until the market actually does it, and then then we can say, well, now we have a little bit of a top, and we can look at it a little bit differently. But based on this, I'm still I would say the long stay on, and there's no reason to mess with this. Looking at the Nasdaq Composite, this one also looks decent. It's just sideways consolidation, very tight, and it's doing nothing wrong in here. At the moment, looking at the moving averages, they're just trending. I think the market, it was a bit extended, so it's trying to catch up. The 50-day is quite high. It's quite the price is quite high from the 50-day moving average, so it needs a little bit of time. I mean, the RSI is fine. I can't really tell you, it's just like stay the course. I'm staying the course. I'm continuing to remain along the market. Sure, you can get a 20% crash tomorrow. God forbid, who knows what happens in the world. But I'm not here to tell you crazy stories. So I'm looking at the price and just, respecting what it does. And right now, what it does, it just kind of goes sideways, consolidates, it's tied. I don't think it's a level where you get really scared about anything right now. It's just like, and you don't want to be complacent either, but so far you got plenty of defense. You got this high, you got the moving averages, so there are still plenty of reasons to remain kind of on the long side. If I look at the semiconductors, they are still getting rejected from the 20-day, so there's still a lot of decent stuff happening. Anyhow, I talked enough for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.